Hello everybody, welcome in today. I'm a couple minutes running behind. My project has changed 2 or 3 times because today is one of those days where I cannot find anything. Come on in here, tell me hello. We are going to do something really fun for fall. And it's a spin-off of one of the most requested items or DIYs that you guys are messaging me or asking about quite often, and so fall is the perfect time for it. So come on in and let's craft and chat today. Hello, Miss Billy, Miss Dawn, and Linda. Welcome in, you guys. If you missed last DIY that we did on Tuesday, you missed a good one. You missed a really smelling good one. We made some little DIY little cinnamon primitive style pumpkins, and I showed you how to make those and how easy they are to make, and they smell amazing. Cinnamon, yes, cinnamon. They smell amazing. And I have these sitting off to the side next to one of the doorways that come into my house, and so it gives a wonderful smell. So if you love the smell of fall and cinnamon, here you go. You can go back and catch the replay there on my page or on my YouTube channel, either one. Hey, Miss Jenny, how are you? Celeste, how are you? Miss Victoria, Cynthia, and Sandy, how are you? All right, I'm going to set these down to the side. And if you don't mind, I'm going to take a breather for a second. Hey, Miss Elizabeth, I have been running around trying to find my plaster of Paris, and I cannot find it anywhere. Like 20 minutes before I was to go live, I knew exactly where it was, went out to my spot to find it, and it's not there. So I was scrambling to find it, and also at the same time scrambling to have a plan B here. So hey, Miss Billy, you made them yesterday, and what did you make? You made some primitive pies. Awesome. Well, I'm making a primitive pie today, but it's going to be a little bit different than any of the pies I've shown you guys before. We've made let's see if I can pull out some stuff back here. We've made a primitive apple pie before. I don't even know if I can grab it. Ugh. With like a solid top apple pie with some dried apples and some cinnamon sticks, and this is all made out of muslin material. It's super light, it's as light as a feather. But I'm wanting to do a little bit of a different one. For one, this is really big, and I only have so many places to put it. And you all know I like to collect vintage kitchen scales, and I have a couple of vintage kitchen scales that I think would be perfect for some little mini apple pies, but I want to do them in a slightly different style. Let me get all that put back together back there, because we definitely have the table full. So I'm going to be making a lattice top apple pie, and not only that, we're doing it in a mini size. Okay, I found these cute little mini pie pans on Amazon. They came in a 4-pack, and so I'm probably going to do 2 apple and 2 pumpkin, and that way I can use them in different parts of my house in smaller little areas. Tuck them on a little shelf, or if you remember, let me show you these that we made last fall. I keep these in like a little plastic cake dome, and I got this little cake dome at the Target Dollar Spot last spring, but these fit perfect in this. But what I'm also thinking, I have another one of these little cake plates. I painted it black, but to make it sort of the primitive style, to make it look like a tin style. But this little pie pan, I almost said pie plate, will fit perfectly on that. And look, the dome fits right over top of that too. So a little primitive apple pie in there is going to look darling, I think. And then I don't know, we could sell them at work. I give one as a gift, or you never know. I don't know. I've got 4. They're fun to make, and you'll know. Oh, thank you, Miss Stephanie. How are you from Colonial House Primitives? So glad you're here. All right, you guys. Not to mention, the last time I did the little hand pies, the little apple hand pies, that video, you guys, was a hot mess. And so many of you are asking how to do those. If we have enough time, I'm going to make some little primitive little apple hand pies, because I already have my Motto Magic is what we're working with today. That's the clay of choice, if you will. You could use air dry clay or salt dough. Lots of different options, but lately I find that I like and prefer the Crayola's Model Magic better. It just seems to hold its shape. Hey, Miss Rose from Texas. Hey, Miss Kathy. Thank you, Miss Barbara, for spreading the joy. We always appreciate that around here. Okay, so I don't think it's going to take a ton of this because we're using the little minis. You know what I forgot to grab? I forgot to grab my little roller. So let me have you come over here in a second and grab me something, okay? Over here in this little cup in this corner, I have a little rolling cutter. You know what I'm talking about? It kind of looks like a pizza cutter. In fact, you could just get me the pizza cutter if you want to do that. That might be easier. Okay, so I have rolled out my dough really, really thin, and that is the key when you're making these little mini hand pies or anything like that. You want to roll it like super thin. See how thin I have that? And that's what I struggled with the very first time I made the little hand pies, was getting that dough thin enough. And so I have worked this Model Magic. This is faux dough. It's not real dough, you guys. I have worked this Model Magic really well to where it's already pretty thin. But for this, I'm actually going to use this as my crust. And all I'm going to do is roll it up and make a roll. So for this one, I technically didn't have to have it rolled out flat. We're going to make the little mini pie first, and then if we, depending on time, we will try to get to the little mini hand pies that are in apple shape. I'm kind of on an apple kick. I know it's near fall, you guys. I mean, some may already be claiming it as fall, and that's okay. But I do love pumpkins. I mean, I have pumpkins, you know, everywhere, but I like apples too, but I don't know, apples to me also say fall. So, hey, Miss Sybil, happy Thursday to you, Miss Jane. So glad y'all are on here today. So if you get these little mini pie pans, you want to make sure they have a little bit of a lip on the ridge. And I need a little bit longer of a piece here because I want this to stretch all the way around my pan. You want to work this Model Magic before you start using it. You got to just move it, twist it, smash it, roll it, and that makes it a lot easier to work with. When you first get it out of the bag, you're going to think, oh, it's a little tough. But the more you work with it, actually the more you warm it with your hands, the heat from your hands will actually make it even easier to use. And then after that, it's like easy peasy. Now I have already put a little bit of a light yellow acrylic paint in my Model Magic, excuse me, to kind of soften the brightness of the yellow. Hey, Miss Sherry, how are you? From Sherry's Creative Design. So glad you're on here too. To give it a little bit of a warmer color, a warmer dough color, if you will. All right, I'm just making sure that this is going to stretch all the way around the rim, and yes, it does. All right, now, there we go. You all can see right there. I'm going to just take my fingers and I'm going to go ahead, and I need to kind of smash this down first before I start fluting my crust. I need to smash it down just ever so slightly into the inside of that pan. And you know, I know there are tons of different ways to make these little pies, and you use what you have is perfect. And this is not anything new. I'm not reinventing anything. I'm not inventing anything new here. This is just something I have on hand and I'm wanting more of, and so I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to do it today. Thank you. How are you, Miss Janet and Vicki? Let's see, Susan, your local Walmart said they were going to discontinue Model Magic. Really? I have never heard that. You know, I have I have 3 Walmarts that are close to me, and only one of them carries the big, large container of it. But, you know, I have seen it online, and you could use other things. You could even use salt dough if you really want to. Okay, look up a basic salt dough recipe and probably do the same thing. All right, so now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pinchers and my pointer on this hand, and I'm just going to make a little fluted edge. So as I go around, let me sit it right here so you guys can see better. I'm just going to pinch it with one hand and push it with my other, okay? And if you guys are bakers, you ladies are bakers, then you're going to know exactly what I'm doing. So let me go around, and I'm going to pinch that and push it. Pinch and push. And that's going to give me that really cute little fluted crust. edge. And this is the same way that I started my faux pumpkin pie, which is all the rage. My faux pumpkin pie that we did last fall, you guys, it is like, it's pretty much gone viral on Pinterest. And of course my YouTube video replays on that video are like amazing. So I know that many of you maybe have even seen that if you've been researching how to make a faux pumpkin pie, because it's everywhere. And this is the same way I made that little crust. Okay, and that pumpkin pie, you'll see that right there. But that's the same way I made that little crust on that. Now, if you are worried about fingerprints, Model Magic doesn't do fingerprints it doesn't pick up your fingerprints very easily. Air dry clay will pick up your fingerprints super easy. But if you are seeing fingerprints, you might want to wear just a real disposable pair of plastic gloves or whatever. Or you can go back over it with just a smidge of water and just smooth it down, and that will get rid of your fingerprints as well. Okay, there we go. That's how we're starting with that. Now let me give you a close-up. That's that fluted edge. All right, that looks homemade. It looks like a homemade crust, unless you didn't see the center. All right, now for the apples, same way that we did the little faux hand pies. If you watch that video, how I made the little faux apples that go inside of those. I don't know, let's see, I have one over here. I don't know if you can actually see you can almost see the little apples inside there. All I used was one of these little sponges, and I got it at the Dollar Tree, I believe. It's just a dish cleaning scrubber, whatever you got. But these, when you cut them, they will resemble little chopped apples, and so they're perfect. So all I do is just take my scissors, and I'm just going to start cutting them into it looks like little diced apples. You guys see those? Let me scoot them over here. I need this dough here in a minute, so I'm trying to keep it there. Look, little diced apples right there. Hey, Miss Jennifer, how are you? I watched your sunflower project last night when I was cleaning the kitchen, and I didn't get to chime in the comments very much, but I was sure watching, and I loved how it turned out. I do that a lot. A lot of times when I'm doing dishes or cooking dinner, usually streaming. I've got a little phone stand in my kitchen, on my kitchen counter, and I'll prop my phone on that and just keep y'all on play while I'm doing housework or folding laundry or whatever. I do that way more. I don't even hardly watch TV. If the TV comes on, it's because the boys in my house are usually watching sports. So I don't hardly watch TV anymore. Okay, we're just going to go to town here. Now let's see. Now once you get to the center, it's kind of like this, and you can really just pull them out. Hey, Miss Donna. Hey, Miss. Oh, we got two Donnas back to back there. Hey, Miss Michelle. How are you? Okay. Well, I may have a bigger chunk here than what I really need, but we're trying to get it all done in one swoop here. Okay. Now some of my apples aren't quite beautifully cut. Look at that. That must have been like the center of that sponge. I'm not going to use that right now. Well, I guess I could use it as a filler in the bottom. Yeah, let's do that, because I'm going to need the depth of this little pan. It's pretty shallow, but I still need to probably fill it up a little bit, and so I can kind of use that as a little filler. I don't know how much of these I'm going to need, but I am going to cut a bunch. And I'm going to need a bowl. Let's see here. I may have to see what I have close by here. Cutting apples. Didn't know we were going to do some bacon, some fake bacon today. Like I said, I had my other project was pumpkin themed, but it was a fake bake as well, but it didn't pan out so well because I couldn't find anything I needed at the last minute. I mean, I feel like sometimes that's the story of my life, and you know what that means? That means it's time to reorganize around here, right? Unscented kitty litter, good. Oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea for apple crumble. Great idea, Barbara. Thanks for sharing that tip. All right, got sponge sticking to me. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to take, and I've cut probably more than I'll need now, but I'm going to make more than one of these. But for now, we're making one, but I'm going to make another one later. Okay, so what I'm going to do is my coffee grunge mix, you guys. A cup of hot water, a half a cup of instant coffee, just like this right here, instant coffee. Nothing fancy or expensive. A half a cup of that with 2 tablespoons of cinnamon and 2 tablespoons of vanilla. I'm using this as my little mixing bowl for a second, if you will, because I forgot to grab a bowl. And I'm going to take these little pieces of sponge, okay, and I'm going to dip them down in that coffee grunge and let them soak it up. And not, man, I'm telling you, that last minute like change-a-roo really threw me off today. Really threw me off. I'm so sorry. I'm usually I don't have my paper towels over here, so I do have some baby wipes, so I'm just going to do this number. I'm going to press it down in there and hope they can soak that grunge up. Now, I'm going to show you guys what this looks like. I may have been able to just put this right in over here. I may just be able to do that, actually, now that I'm sitting here looking at this. Okay, let me show you. That's what we have right now. Does that not look like diced, like baked apples? Let's just slide that right in there. Now, it still has a lot of that coffee grunge in there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some more of these, and I'm just going to press them down in there so that they absorb that coffee grunge. And these little pieces, they'll get a little bit lighter since I had so much grunge in there to begin with. Some of them were a little bit dark, but I'll show you here in just a second. And since that dish sponge is already yellow, it just resembles, it really does resembles little, they resemble little diced apples. Okay, now if you're doing like I'm doing, you're probably going to want to squeeze out some of the excess coffee grunge, okay? Just take these out and squeeze them. Yeah, I can do that. Just take that out. I should have brought a little extra mixing bowl. I'm going to take the bulk of those and squeeze it. Okay. We're playing with our food today. Now, obviously, the more you squeeze out, the lighter they will become. And so you may have to decide, are they too light? If so, you might want to leave that coffee grunge in there for a little bit longer and let them kind of air dry. Okay. Now, let me show you what we have there. I think I'm going to pour just a little bit more of that back on there, because I do want them just a little bit darker. Okay, now let me wipe my hands here. And let me show you what we got. There we go, right there. Doesn't that look cute? So now if you want to get a little bit more of, you know, that look, you could sprinkle them a little bit with some cinnamon. This one, I don't know. This one has not been opened yet. Okay. Now, that coffee grunge mix, it already has cinnamon in it. This right here is more probably for just the darkness, the instant darkness, to kind of make those look a little more browned. Okay. There we go. Oh my gosh, that smells amazing. Okay, now what we're going to do, let's slide these extra apples. Let's put this back in this little pan right here, because I'm going to make another one of those. So I'll just pick these up off my dough and slide these right in this pan here. Okay. And we're going to cut a little miniature lattice top for this little pie. And I think we might have plenty of time to do one of the little mini hand pies. Okay. Slide that right there. Now for the lattice top, I'm going to use, you could use a little rotary cutter. You could use scissors if you really want. I'm just going to be using I'm going to be using a pizza cutter. That's what my son could find for me really quick. Now, I've got this dough. I keep saying dough. It's Model Magic, you guys, but it's serving as our dough, our faux dough. Now, I'm going to put this on this cutting board, actually, so that when I cut into it, it's not going to do any damage to my table here, okay? And I am going to cut my strips pretty thin. All right, let's see what we got. The little pie pans, they come in a set of 4, and I got them on Amazon. I'll be more than happy to share the link with you later if you can't find them, but they're so cute. I don't think I saved the box, but they're probably like maybe a 5-inch or 4-inch. I don't know, but they're so cute and dainty. They're just perfect for the little mini pies. I couldn't find any of the little mini disposable pie pans anywhere close to me, so that's why I went with Amazon on those. Now I'm just going to cut me a couple of strips of the faux dough, aka Model Magic, and that's what we'll use for the little lattice top. And then I'll show you how I color it up. Well, did I not cut deep enough? Yeah, there we go. All right. So let's set this right here in the center. I'm just going to start. This Model Magic will stick to itself, so I was going to say I'm just going to lay it on there and then size it, but I can't do that. This Model Magic, if it sticks or lays on, on top of another piece, it will stick and it could ruin the shape of what I got going on here. So kind of got to put it where you want it and plan for it to stay there, if that makes any sense. All right, let's make this a little bit shorter. A little bit shorter, and you can always cut it down. Just eyeballing it, honestly. It's a little bit too long. Okay, and then I need to go the opposite direction with these. This one's a little bit thicker, so I'm just going to kind of give it a soft, gentle little stretch to see if I can't. Yeah, okay. So let's see here. They're so lightweight, they're kind of hard to move without moving the whole piece. Whereas real dough has a little bit of a weight to it. And we do want to make sure that we can see those little apples shining through there. Okay, now this is a little short piece, so that'll go on the end. Let's get one long piece for the center there. Okay. Now, yeah, that'll work perfect. Oof, oof, oof. There we go. Now, once we get this on, if you're doing this, you would want to let this sit. After you get the crust kind of the way you want it to, shape-wise, let it sit and dry, okay, before you start adding any kind of coloration to it. Okay, there we go. That's what we have so far. I think that looks pretty darn cute. Now what I'll do is I will take my fingers around the edge where those little strips would join the crust, and all I'm going to do is very gently just kind of press down in there and press that in to the crust that's going around the rim, okay? And you can do that really easily with your fingers. And like I said, if you get fingerprints, all you need to do is just dip your fingers down in a little bit of water and then go right over it and smooth it down, okay? That water will get rid of, it'll erase those fingerprints just like magic, okay? Stretch that out and get it over there. Now, as this dries, it can shrink a little bit. So while you're letting it dry, what I would recommend is don't try to speed dry, don't rush it, okay? Let it air dry and normal room temperature, okay? Don't put heat to it, don't stick a fan on it. Really just let it do everything naturally. That's the hard part, is being patient and waiting, okay? I probably could have added one more little strip right there. when I'm looking at it from a distance, I almost think it needs one more. Or maybe I can just scoot this one over a little bit. Yeah, we can do that. Okay. This needs to go over a little bit. Okay, there we go. That's a little better. Now, press it down and let it wait. Now, as it's drying, check in on it occasionally, and then if you're starting to see some that's starting to pull away or shrink a little bit, dip your finger in a little bit of water, go back in, and press those pieces down again. Okay. Now, I will say the air dry clay shrinks a lot more. Well, it's more prone to cracking, I think, than the Model Magic. Okay, the air dry clay dries a little more brittle, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is the same pie, the pumpkin pie that I put together last year, and I have let it sit and cure. I haven't done anything with this one because I kind of wanted to just show you what it will do, what it looks like over time. Now, this is air dry clay. Okay, this is Model Magic. This was one of my first attempts at this, and so I was using air dry clay for the first time. And if you're not going to be moving it around and using it a whole lot, it's okay. And even if you are, it's still okay. But let me see, right here's a good little, it will crack, okay? If it cracks, no biggie. Just put a little bit of glue, take that piece off, put a little bit of glue under there, and stick it right back in its spot, just like a puzzle piece. And I mean, a real pie crust will have cracks and crevices in it too, so that will just give you more of that authentic look. My pie back here, I've even dropped it. One time when I was rearranging all of this, I actually dropped that on the floor, and part of the crust like broke off and crumbled, went all in the floor. Although it came apart in pretty big chunks, I was able to piece it right back together and glue it down. And really the pieces were so large, it really wasn't even that bad, because you can see several little cracks and crevices around that rim. And once you color it, and then it kind of takes away from, you don't really notice the cracks as much, but like I said, it looks natural when it's that way anyway. So really you don't have to fret about it too much. Okay. Now, to colorize this, what I like to do, I'm looking on my table here, like, where's my sponge brush? I like to take the coffee grunge. All right. This is sort of like a process. I like to take the coffee grunge. I'm trying to find, I want a thin brush because I don't want it to hold a whole lot of the moisture. The coffee grunge, like I said, I use it on all kinds of things. Now, you want to stir it up because the cinnamon will settle to the bottom. The cinnamon never really dissolves. Cinnamon does not dissolve. Did y'all know that? And so when you get that grunge or the sludge or the slime at the bottom, that's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It helps it cling to the surface that you're applying it to. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go over all of my little crust pieces with this coffee grunge. Okay? It has cinnamon in it, which is going to give me those little cinnamon flakes, okay? And it's going to give me, that brown, golden, cooked, baked color. I will tell you, one coat of this is not going to be enough, okay? You will want to apply several layers of this, drying it in between, okay? You will want to let it dry, apply another coat, and repeat that process until you get a real good coloration to it. Now, this is the base for my color. I usually, once I get this on and it's dried, and if I get it to like the depth of the brown that I want it to be, I then use the little distressed ink pads. You all have seen me probably use those before. I love those little things. And they are perfect for giving a little bit of a darker, I don't want to say highlights because it's not highlights, it's actually lowlights. It gives you, you can use that on the little peaks of the crust to give them more of that dark baked color, if you will. Okay, when you bake things in the oven, the air that hits those top pieces, they brown. They get a little more brown than the rest of the crust. Okay, so I'm just going to go around and make sure I've covered all the way around those little scalloped edges And the other good thing about this grunge is it will give you that natural color, and it settles into the little grooves, the little nooks and crannies for you. And if you use one of these little light thin brushes, you can get down in those little crevices to make sure that all of that faux dough has the color to it. Excuse me. Okay, so this is what I got so far right there. We could stop there. However, as it dries, it will lighten. And so I've never been able to just apply one layer of that coffee grunge and be happy with it. I usually have to keep applying it, okay? Now, you would probably want to wait for your crust to dry before you apply your coffee grunge, honestly, okay? I'm speeding along the process a little bit. I'm going to give it a little dry just to kind of dry that moisture that I've put on there so that you can kind of see what it's going to look like with one coat. Now I won't get it completely dry because, like I said, the Model Magic is still damp itself, okay? It has to air dry before it will actually harden. But once this dries, it will harden and it will be just fine. You won't have to worry about, you know, messing up the crust, you know, if you touch it or whatever. Okay. Now that's what we have right there. Let me give you a close up. That's pretty good right there, honestly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you real quick what I do to kind of get that extra little look that I like so much. I have two colors that I like to use on this. Let me make sure I've got the right ones here. Vintage Photo and Walnut Stain. I will use sometimes both of those interchangeably. One's just a tad bit darker. The Walnut's just a tad bit darker than the Vintage Photo. But this is what I like to take and rub across the top and hit those high points. So I'm just loading up a little sponge dabber here, okay? If you want to, you could take the thing on there and rub it, but I feel like sometimes that's a little harsh. Now, this would be applied once you get the base coat the color that you want it, okay? So if you have to apply multiple layers of the coffee grunge to get it to the color you need, then this will be the last coloring step, okay? I'm just speeding along. So I've loaded up my little sponge, and I'm going to go around the edges of this crust, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you exactly what it's doing here in just a second. I'm going to hold this up so you can see. This is like the deal maker, I think. I'm trying not to hit it too hard since mine is still damp. I don't want to hit it too hard because I'm gonna be smashing. I'm gonna be smashing my dough. That's why I said you would want to wait and do this as your dough is dry. Okay, now, do you see this right here in comparison to this side? See the color difference? That's what makes the difference. That's what makes it look like the real thing. All right, so that's what you would do all the way around the edge, and then also hit the top parts of those little lattice strips. Okay, I'm just trying to apply really gentle pressure so that I don't smash mine since mine is not dry. It's like I want to load my brush super heavy. That little ink pad may be a little dry. Let's try this one. If I load it up really good, then I won't have to apply quite as much. Yeah, that worked. Okay, so see, I've already given it a little burnt or extra brown mark right there, and go along those edges, and it like brings it to life in no time flat. Now, if you are an apple pie eater that likes to have a little bit of sprinkled sugar on top, you could use a little bit of diamond dust. Okay, you could use that to kind of give it a little bit of sparkle. I'm just leaving basic right there, okay? Now, I will say that if you get those little ink spots a little too dark, take your coffee grunge. Take your coffee grunge. It's going to smooth out those little dark patches. Do you see that? How it smoothed it out? Because that ink is water activated. It's water soluble, which means the water will help spread it. If you get it wet, it will spread and reactivate that ink. And so you can spread it out if you get it on there a little too harsh. Okay, let that dry. And then whenever you get the coloring the way that you like it, you're going to want to spray it. You're going to want to spray it, give it a coat of like a clear matte spray sealer. Okay, and then you're good to go. It's good for forever. Now, if you wanted to give it a little bit more of a scent, if you want this to be like a little potpourri, a little scented thing, excuse me, you could add a few drops of like some candle scented oil down in those little sponges, in those apples, those little faux apples, and that will give you a heavenly smell. And then you can just refresh it whenever you want. If it gets dried out and you want that coffee grunge smell again, add a few drops of coffee grunge down there in those sponges. Now, you don't want to go overboard because you want it to be able to dry. You don't want it to get yucky, but you do want it to dry out so that it doesn't get yucky down in there. But look at that. I've just kind of done half of this pie. Excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat. I'm just going to finish this side of the half of the crust so you can kind of compare. Okay, so you can see the side that I have colored and given it that color, you know, the application of the ink and then the coffee grunge. I mean, that looks totally amazing. Now, this looked really good when we applied the coffee grunge. That's just to give you your base coat. And then you want to highlight it with those darker colors. All right, and then just give it a dry. You can keep applying that color to it until, like I said, until you get it the way you want it. But then once you get it where you need it, apply that sealer. What did I do with that other little, oh, just right there under my face. Then you'll want to apply that sealer to really set it in good, okay? All right, let's see what your questions are. Hey, Miss Sandra. Hey, Miss Donna. Can't find the cleaning brushes anywhere. I grabbed these at the Dollar Tree. You might look, I mean, it's been a while because I bought those last fall. And those were just extras that I've had in my stash. I've been trying to use up some things that I have. But may just have to look on Amazon. Look for yellow dish sponge. I haven't looked at the Dollar Tree recently. Let me make sure that this says Dollar Tree. I don't think it even says. No, it doesn't say. These are called Scrub Buddies Dish Cleaner. That's what it says. Scrub Buddies Dish Cleaner. So, you might just have to look on Amazon for it. If you want a little bit of that glossy shine, like sometimes an apple pie crust has, give it, you could even give it a coat of, if you want to give it a little bit of a semi-gloss spray sealer on it. That would work. Give it a little bit more of that little sheen, you know, because when you bake an apple pie, you kind of apply the egg white to kind of give it that sheen. All right, so this side of my pie I've not finished, but that side looks good enough to eat. And this is going to be so cute, staged on my little cake stand here. And I probably should have like grunged up that cake pan before. Did I make my crust too wide? I think I did. Let me see here. I may be able to just kind of squish it in a little bit. My crust, you know, a yummy good crust is hefty. I made my crust a little too hefty, I think. Now, it would be really darling to put a little strip of red homespun fabric around this, put a little tie on it, really dress it up. Okay, let's see if I squished it in enough. There we go. Maybe. Oh, it's close. It's close, but isn't that cute? And now this has a little bunny on it, but I can't get rid of the little bunny. It's like made into the top piece itself. So I usually set it like this so it's not as noticeable that it's a bunny. Or you could wrap it in some twine or whatever, make it look like a little twine handle. But I think that's a pretty cool little prop, if I do say so myself. Now, you could use these like I'm going to use these as display with my vintage kitchen scales. I love staging them with that. Oh, you know what else this would look really cute with? Do you remember the little apple jar lamp that we made a couple of weeks ago? That would be cute. Can the model magic be used in molds for flowers? I'm sure it could. Yeah, like IOD molds or anything else like that. I'm sure it could. I've never actually tried it myself, but I don't see why it couldn't be. Thank you, Miss Gail. And it's just so dainty and so easy to tuck in, which is, you know, a lot easier to. I can't grab that apple pie now. It's tucked back in there. But the apple pie that we made last fall was the big version, and this is just a little mini lattice top version, which is real easy to just tuck in somewhere. And if you're kind of a newbie at it, try the smaller one first before you try a big one. Yes, it would, Miss Jennifer. You're right. Yes, it would make an awesome door prize, or you know what, a hostess gift. I mean, the holidays are coming around. I mean, you could make one of these as a little hostess gift. Really jazz it up and make it smell good, and that's like their little potpourri scented little decor. And you know, you could tie it with a little tag or whatnot to really decorate it up, and it would look so cute. So cute. What kind of a pan? I found them on Amazon. Okay, let me show you. And they come in a set of 4. They're like, I think they're like 4 or 5 inch diameter little pie pans. Now you know they're pie pans because they have, you know, the edging, it comes out. All right. Now what am I saying? A cake pan goes straight up and down on the side. This one flares out and up. Yes, they would make really adorable gifts, really adorable. Instead of giving a candle, give somebody a little mini apple pie so they can use as their decor. Somebody's asking about the sponges. Well, I've already cut this one up, but you know, it's those little dish sponges that are yellow at the ends and like come out in all little pieces. We just cut the little pieces off, okay, and makes them look like little diced apples. We soak them in the coffee grunge mix. If you all need that recipe, it's pinned at the top of My Sweet Home Living's Facebook page. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you, Miss Angie. We do have another creator coming up live right now over on the Craft on the Clock group. You guys, we have some amazing creatives and DIY crafters over there in that group every day of the week. And so tune in. We go early morning, early till late at night, giving you some live streaming craft shows. Okay, so tune in, and thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you again next week. Bye, guys.